Hello, you lovely infinite beings. I want to ask you this. Generally speaking, when you're trying to materialize something you want, what do you do when you're trying to create something beautiful in your reality? Now, generally speaking, I believe most of the answers would be that I keep trying. I try to even, align myself externally and internally with that which I'm trying to create. I sweat, I put all of that effort, I take actions, I align with it internally, I focus my emotions, I focus my mentality to align with that reality, and I keep taking actions committed to that reality until I fully align with that which I'm trying to create, and then it materializes. And I believe that is the majority of the answers are gonna look something like this. But I want to share with you a rather controversial outlook, a controversial perspective on that concept, on that method, in using something that you are very much familiar with. And that is, how do you create the most beautiful of things in your reality? Now, I want you to think about all of the beautiful things you managed to materialize in your life. Like, for example, how do you fall in love? How did you have that beautiful relationship? How did you materialize that beautiful relationship? Were you even aware that it's in process when it first happened? Did you fall in love? Did you try? Did you force yourself to love someone? No, because the most beautiful things in life happen so effortlessly when we're not even trying. You fell in love simply because you fell in love, and that was something beautiful that you created. A stranger, out of nowhere gave you money or gave you a beautiful, wise wisdom, shared with you some beauty of their wisdom, gave you an insight, revealed something to you. Those are all beautiful things that happen out of nowhere when we're not even trying. You were not like sitting there and thinking, I want to have some insight today. I'm trying to have some insightful thoughts today. I'm trying to have this revelation. Oh God, please give me this revelation. You're not thinking, oh, I want to love that person. That person is so good looking, I'm gonna force myself, I'm gonna keep trying to love that person. And then you love them and you fall in love and you have that relationship, which is something beautiful more often than not. And that's why I think it's stupid to try and force the things you want to materialize. Never once actually in your life, put aside, after you've, focused on self-growth and self-development and you disciplined yourself and you went into that mentality. Before that, if you even went to that mentality or that mindset or that way of lifestyle, but before that, everything beautiful in your life materialized with no effort, materialized suddenly. It happens without trying. It's not suddenly. It could be, compounding work in play that which has been going for, a few days or a few weeks, but you were not very much aware of it. You were not trying to figure out, how am I going to fall in love today? You were not thinking, oh, how am I gonna get that insightful thought today? You were not thinking, how am I gonna have that beautiful lunch today? Like when you were younger and your mom cooked for you or your dad cooked for you or someone cooked for you, or you were invited somewhere and you had that beautiful dish, that delicious dish. Those are all things, those are all mini materializations. Let's say on the micro scale of things, those are manifestations. Those are still manifestations. Everything in your reality is a manifestation. So those are all things that happen to you with no effort. So why do we think that the most amazing of things that we want to create in our reality are going to require that much effort? We have to struggle and suffer and sweat and cry to create that thing which we're trying to materialize. That's just an egoistic concept. Now, moving on, the reason why it's stupid, well, you could, because it's gonna take much longer, it's gonna be matter creating matter, and it's gonna be way more complicated than if you would just use the way that you've been using all along. If you would just apply the same concept that you have applied to all of those beautiful things you've created, you've materialized before, you were so much aware of that yourself trying to create this and that, it would work so much easier. It would work out so much easier. It's gonna be effortless and it's gonna happen, rather than, reaching to a point and then eventually giving up because it's messed up, because the ego is not designed to figure out a way for each and everything. The ego is not designed to realize how this is gonna work out and how that's gonna work out and how do I create this and how do I have this and how do I do this thing and how do I reach to that place. The ego is not for that. This comes to you intuitively. This comes through the energetic form of yourself. This comes through your energetic form, through your higher self, through your source, through this infinite energy that surrounds us. You catch on that. You use your energy to create everything beautiful. You could align with things. You could want something and you have it in you. It's laying there dormant, and then suddenly out of nowhere it happens. You could look at it as it was the compounding of, everything that you've been going through, your experiences, the failures, the successes, the trying, the discipline, and eventually it was created. Or you could look at it as that you have finally matched the blueprint that's required for creating things, for creating a reality, for being a conscious creator of your reality, for playing a role in the things that are being created in your reality. And now if you think back, you're gonna realize that even when you were not trying, even when you're not disciplining yourself, even when you're not, putting all of that effort and failures and trials, things happen to you. Things still worked out magnificently for you. So what is the key? The key is, as a guideline, when you hand over the trying, when you accept what is trying, first of all, I just made a video all about this, you could watch it. Trying indicates that you are not aligned internally or externally, because if you are aligned, you would simply be doing those things without even trying. It indicates that you did not, more importantly, that you did not accept your current reality. And everything you go through is meant to be accepted. The only reason you had to experience this or that is because you had to. It's because it adds something to you. It gives you something. It awakens something in you. It reveals something to you. You simply had to raise your vibration, to see things differently, to do this or do that or figure out this. And when you reject it as an experience wholly, because it was hurtful, it was partially has to do with suffering, or it was this or that, then you reject the whole experience as if it was not, as if it never happened. And that means that you have to repeat this trial over and over until you reach to a point where you accept it. Now, what happens if you accept it when it first materializes? What happens when you accept your reality as it happens? What happens is that you are always ready to move on. When you're faced with one stage, you accept it, you remain yourself. You're not affected by your external reality. And then it moves on. It means that there is no longer reason for you to keep experiencing it. It means that it has no longer a purpose to serve in your reality. And that's when it moves on. And that's when you move on from it. And so when you accept, first of all, when you stop trying, it's partially acceptance. And then the more important aspect is that you hand over the steering wheel. You hand over the steering wheel away from the ego on to your higher self, on to God, onto the divine, onto the mystical, onto this thing that has been creating all of the beautiful things previously in your reality. That's when you hand over the steering wheel, and now all of the energies in existence will assist you with whatever you're trying to create. Now you say that I'm ready for this to manifest in my reality. I've tried, I've done the things, I believe I'm aligned. I no longer have to keep trying. I no longer have to keep trying to align myself with that externally or internally. And that's when it happens. That's when you hand over the steering wheel. And it happened with me more often than not. When I started being aware of it, and even before that, when you think and when you reminisce, when you think in retrospection, and you realize it's been happening all along. And more recently, when I give up something, when I just say that, well, I've tried myself everything with this thing, and if it's gonna work out, it's gonna work out, and if it won't, then that's what's meant for it. That's the end of the line for it. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, it blows the way it goes in the direction I actually wanted to. And if you think back over your life, that's how everything went. That's how everything was going before you lost your inner innocence, before you lost your inner child, before you learned that life is harsh and life is gonna beat you down, that you have to man up, that you have to take control over everything, that you have to force your way through everything. If you want it badly, then you force your way through it. Before this went into your programming, before this became part of your programming, everything beautiful was happening for you that way. And you were creating. And so now what happens when you hand over the steering wheel? Now the energies, all energies in existence are going to be assisting you, and you are going to move on. Is that it's created. Things are only in your life because you need them. When you no longer need to be experiencing that emotion, say is that you have to let go of control. And then you're forced in a situation where all control is taken away from you. Once you hand over control, once you no longer are obsessed with control, the experience, the external experience disappears because you're no longer being taught. You no longer need the lesson. It's already happened. And so make it a habit to always live like that. Make it a habit to always keep on moving on and accepting at the same time. Accept whatever is happening as it happens, and that's the fastest way for it to disappear from your life, to move on, to shift from it in your life. If you're so obsessed with something else and you keep rejecting the current reality because you're so desperate to have that thing, you cannot create that which you lack. You cannot create from a place of lack. You can only create from a place of abundance, from a place of gratitude, because you create what you are. You create what you have the tools to create. And if you have the tools to create something, you're not going to be so desperate for it to be created, for it to happen. And so always be in acceptance. Always be ready to move on. Open yourself to moving on. And the only way, the fastest way to move on is to be in full acceptance of what is in the present. Because there's only a present. Tomorrow becomes the present. Yesterday never existed. Yesterday is no longer there. So there's only the present. And as long as you are in the present, it's going to be easier to accept things. It's going to be easier to move on and create the life you actually want. So learn to hand over the energy, the control, and your energies to your higher form, and stop obsessing over the ego and what the ego wants and how the ego wants to deal with this and how the ego wants to figure out that and this and whatever. And that's the easiest way, the fastest way to create, to be a conscious creator of your reality. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to another video by AF's Conscious Frequency. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, because it helps me so much, and it helps this video find its way to many more others who might actually need it.